if you try a move like d3 de or d4 de and then take the rook on h8, you just get made into a simple pattern with bishop g4, a5, rook a6, rook d6, rook d1. So that doesn't work. So you would have to play something like d4, bishop h6, bishop g7, bishop here, and then the king would have to move somewhere. But if he moves here, he's getting ghosted, and he moves here. Remember, our old friend en passant is legal, and this is going to cause white a world of hurt. For example, en passant, and then we take and make a queen. So that was 1, 2, 3 moves, and then bishop f5 is 4 moves, and then well, we can actually make a rook e1 and bishop e4, and this would be a checkmate because all the squares are covered. So so that doesn't work, and so let's try and find lines where you can take the a8 rook instead. So first let's look at trying this idea like in the other lines, and then playing king e2. Well, the problem here is that black's h5 becomes very handy. In a mere 4 moves, he can take the rook on h1, and then a 5th move, take the bishop on a8, and then deliver check with queen e4. And this doesn't get mated, so this is a 6-4 piece advantage. So that looks really strong for black. And e4, e5, f6, queen f3, queen f6, d8, king d8, d5, d takes e4, h5. So what other tries are there? Like there's this try where he could play a move like, knight c3, bishop c4, bishop takes g8, bishop e6, bishop takes c8, which takes 2 pieces. But then 1, 2, 3, 4, king takes c8, king d7 might be sufficient. It's a 5-4 with an annoying queen. Although maybe white has something with promoting and coming back on h1, so that would have to be looked at carefully. But he might have a better six than that also. So looking at other white tries, he might have some other try that goes after the rook on a8 also, besides playing king e2. He might have a better spare move. So again, I haven't analyzed e5, f6 as much. Another idea is to play bishop c4, g8, e6, c8, e6. Just that's actually kind of an annoying square for the bishop to sit on, but it turns out that just playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then some spare move like to avoid checkmate. I forget which spare move I played that worked, but anyway, there was some series with queen takes g1 that refuted that. So the other tries are if he promotes. Like suppose he tries a4, a5, a6, ab, bc, queen, and says, I'm going to open up my a file. But the problem here is that king takes c8, rook h6, that's 3 moves, 4, 5, 6. Now it's 6 pieces to 3, and this doesn't get checkmated, so that's pretty much C to that series. Yeah, so I still think that you have to look at these bishop takes a8 in 3 moves, and then maybe he doesn't take the pawn on e4, or at least not with the bishop, or maybe maybe he does something else. But he's sitting on this. Oh, it's worth pointing out that he can't take both these pieces off because he's sitting on a simple checkmating pattern here of knight d4 and rook c1, which is because he played h5. That's one of the main reasons to play h5 is you have to checkmate that line where he takes both your pieces there. Otherwise, that would lose. So that's one of the key ideas of the swarm. So yeah, I haven't found anything yet. So it's possible that this series wins for black. And if it does, it's possible that e5 f6 wins. It's possible it wins for white. It's possible it wins for black. It's possible it's a draw. I don't even really pretend to know. I think it's the most complex series in all of progressive chess. White has a lot of tries because the game is so slow. Like, just for example, another try was f4 f5, trying to stuff the position in knight f3. And people played this for the longest time, but it turns out this is not particularly good. That black's development will really suffer on the 7 in future series. So it turns out that doesn't actually work out so well. But then we found this idea, Linneman and myself, of just taking the knight off on f3 and then playing knight h6. And since it doesn't get checkmated, this looks really strong. And the dangling pawn's really annoying too. e4, e5, f6. Back in 1998, I recommended this series because it completely stuffs black's main ideas of f5, queen g5, queen c1, queen d1. It stops ideas of d5, bishop g4, bishop takes d1. But the problem is there's another way to get the queen off, and after a5, rook a6, rook d6, rook d1, even though white is taking a rook here, it looks like black is just doing really well because after he pretty much has to play something like this, and then king d2 or something, and then the a pawn just goes to town. So this looks like it's a good position for black. So that doesn't actually work out. For a while we thought this was really good. Bishop c4, bishop g8, f3, which seems just weird and silly to just take a knight like that and then play f3. But I think this is actually very, very strong. And it's hard to actually find an idea. And rook takes g8, bishop c5, bishop takes g1, counter and doing the same thing is kind of the only idea I found. And here I think every move loses for black, except for bishop f2 check. Just randomly sacrificing the bishop. But I think it's important to make white lose time, and I think by doing so, I think that the game is level, or maybe black is winning. I don't think white is winning, though. But again, this just shows like the incredible complications. I think that e4, e5, f6 is just a really fun, complicated series. For a while they played this idea. This was very popular in Italian progressive chess, to play this d4, knight f3, bishop b5 idea, but I don't think this one's very good. But black just has way too many ideas that don't get checkmated. Like, he has the f5, queen g5, queen c1, queen d1 idea. He has e takes d4, d3, cd, cd. This doesn't get mated. He has and one other idea he has is queen e7, queen a3, queen f3, queen d1. So he's just got way too many things that eat a queen in a piece, or eat the queen for just a pawn. So I don't trust this series at all. I just think it's going to get a bunch of pieces taken on his 6 that he moved out when he shouldn't. I'm trying to think if there's any other ideas that need covering. Well, I think this is a series that's ripe for exploitation. Like, if you played a blitz game, you could just do random stuff, and who knows, you might win because it's just hard to find things for either side. I think the main line probably has to be that queen f3, queen f6, queen e8. It's critical, at least. But if black is winning there, then it's possible that black wins against e4 by playing e5, f6. So that's something to be aware of. Whereas I don't see any conceivable way black could be winning after the move d4. I think he fights to draw there. And he might be fighting to draw here too. I mean, I don't really know. Like, there could be some 5 that crushes that other series. And there are lots of 3 ideas. There are ideas here where you check on h5, but then it walks into like king e7, queen e8, queen h5, queen d1 stuff. There are just so many ideas on e4, e5, f6. So I'm not going to try to give a theoretical assessment. So right now it looks like d5, de, which I've previously said is the main line of e4, may not be. E5, f6 might be the main line. I'm really not sure. And even e5, knight h6 might be playable. So my gut feeling is that d4 is the strongest move in progressive chess, that it leads to a narrow draw, and that e4, probably black has some line that he might be winning or he might be drawing. I don't think white is winning after e4. He may be. I don't pretend to know for sure. But that should cover most of the theory. I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't talked about. There are some interesting ideas, like against the what I consider the main line, which I didn't talk about in the last video, which is d4, d5, c6, g3, bishop h3, bishop c8 is interesting, but I think this series is sufficient. But it's tricky. I'm not 100% sure. And there's also this idea is kind of interesting. But I think black can just take the queen here, and I don't think e4, e5 has the restrictive power like it did against c5, cd, because black has actually made a developing move with d5, and his king will come this way, and these moves will actually have a purpose. So I hope you've enjoyed this look into the theory of progressive chess. I've gone through it very fast. I've omitted a lot of analysis beyond the 5 and the 6. I'm off to just stop and say this is a win, and I'm sure it's probably not clear to everybody why I think it's a win. But I want to encourage people, if you have ideas about trying to solve the game, series you think are critical, then by all means post them and we can look at them. I think the problem with this theory is it makes progressive chess less of a game and more of a puzzle. It's like this giant puzzle where you're trying to figure out what the end result should be, and I think it actually is solvable. I think you could actually enumerate, lots of times that such and such a side has to take a rook and a queen here, and then he has 2 spare moves, and you could actually enumerate them all. I don't think it's that much of a task to do. But the problem is these series that are swarmy and slow, like e4, e5, f6, some of those are much harder to assess, and they do sometimes work, so it's harder to just say for sure, oh, they all lose because they're swarms. But I think in terms of an actual game, Fischer random chess is the way to, Fischer random progressive is the way to go, because I think that there's no way you could just just determine what the theory is of a given starting position immediately. With so many different Fischer random starting positions, I think you would see many more mistakes in the opening. It'd be a lot more fun. And indeed, the Fischer random progressive chess championship that I played in back in 1998 and won was. I just felt like there was a lot more creativity on display there. There were a lot more like unusual harassing checks, unusual disruptions, cool promotions, blocking. A lot of just really unusual, cool ideas. And whereas regular progressive chess, once you know that there's this draw with d4, d5, c6, like suppose I played a game and somebody played d4 against me. I mean, what can I do? On Gold Token I used to play c5, cd, but nobody knew about a4, e4, e5. Once I've revealed a4, e4, e5 in the previous video, well, okay, now everybody plays that against me, and there's nothing I can do without getting killed. So it's not much of a game in that sense. So in the next video, I think I'm going to do one more video and talk about attempts to sort of turn progressive chess from a puzzle into an actual game. And I think Fischer random is the best way to do that. Obviously, each individual position probably has a narrow theoretical lines, just like in regular, but you wouldn't know what they are, so that makes it more of a competitive game. But there's also a lot of interesting ideas for slowing progressive chess down. Different rules like English progressive chess. I can talk about that. I can talk about what I call suspended progressive chess, slow move progressive chess, slow square progressive chess, sorry, logical progressive chess. There's a lot of different variants, so I think I'm going to do one more video where I kind of talk about those, and maybe just fun stuff, talk about the history of progressive chess. So I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos. I've now gone through pretty much everything that I know about the game and shared it, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed them and have fun playing progressive chess at your local club.